don't need a high-end designer or a lot of money to get a luxe look. Be your own interior designer.
This is Affordable Interior Design, the podcast.
Here's your host, Betsy Helmuth.
The first question comes from Allison. Allison writes, "Hi Betsy, I have a question about flooring choices for a bathroom. We're building a house and we're going for a traditional Victorian vibe throughout. We are planning on doing vinyl sheeting or linoleum instead of tile in the bathroom to cut down on costs. I'm drawn to more patterned looks that are hopefully classic. I've added a few images in this email. My husband thinks we should go with a basic slate tile look that's fairly plain. We both want it to last for 10 plus years. I realize linoleum is not the most classic flooring choice, but what do you think will last the longest in terms of style? I'm open to any ideas. Thank you for your wonderful podcast. I learned so much from it." Well, you're most welcome, Allison from Canada. I'm happy to help. I am very hesitant to give you the green light on linoleum flooring. It sounds like you're going to be there for 10 plus years. It sounds like you can make all your personal dreams come true. But as somebody who grew up with a linoleum kitchen, as somebody who grew up with vinyl peel and stick tiles in their bathroom, these areas, especially a bathroom, tend to have a very small footprint. They tend to not even have that much flooring. And tile in and of itself doesn't have to be that expensive. The labor behind the tile, sure, that can get a little bit pricey. But I really want to encourage you to consider going back to tile versus linoleum. I do think that some of the linoleum that you've provided with me here in these pictures could be interesting. Is it my favorite? Let me tell you why not. So you guys are probably very familiar with those tiles that look like they have some sort of vintage type print, be it somewhat filigreed, somewhat damask, somewhat graphic. So say it's like a light gray tile that then has a darker gray print on top and is a little bit worn already. I really love the look of that tile. I think it can go very well in a Victorian style application. But I do think it's a little bit trendy right now. I do think it's a little bit played out right now. When I was thinking about making renovation selections for my own bathroom and kitchen, I considered the tile. Do you hear this guy moving out? He is literally throwing trash bags out the window here on Main Street. This guy can't get out of here fast enough. Oh my gosh. Okay, sorry, I digress, Allison. So I considered these tiles for my own space, but I do feel like they're not going to look timeless. I do feel like they're really hot right now in this contemporary farmhouse, kind of landscape, but I don't think that they're going to look evergreen for very long. So I would be more inclined to go with like a hexagonal marble, a hexagonal porcelain. I like the idea of going with a black and white or gray and white. I don't know if I love the checkerboard. That just reminds me of like being at the Hop in the 50s, right? So again, I don't think that that feels timeless. And that was actually my peel and stick vinyl bathroom growing up, was those black and white solids that we all know and have feelings about. The other thing that I wouldn't do based on the imagery you're showing me is you do have some of that rustic wood vinyl planking that's in a gray wash. I also feel like gray washed wood is something that is not timeless. I think it's something that's hot right now. I think it's been hot for 7 years. I think it's on its way out. And I think in 7 more years, people are going to say, I don't want gray washed wood. It reminds me a lot of the espresso and ebony craze that was going on through the late 90s, early 2000s. And now when people see espresso wood or ebony floors, it just automatically says this is of a different era. This is not what's going on right now. I feel that same way about the popularity of gray washed wood. So while it appeals to me, while I like the fact that you can't really see hair, can't really easily see scratches or imperfections like you could on, say, white flooring or very dark flooring like that ebony I just referenced. I think it's going to have its moment and be gone. And that's the thing about Victorian design is, everything old becomes new again. But something like marble was not only great back then, it's also really appealing right now. Uh, People mentioned subway tile as being timeless. And while I do think that's true because it's been so popular in recent years, I think it's also going to feel a little bit played out. It reminds me a lot of that trend of the square tiles and how they were ubiquitous and every home had square tiles, including my home, unfortunately. And those, while a classic shape that's pretty inoffensive, certainly do not look contemporary. So again, I would think about, all the spaces in your home. What are in the other bathrooms? What is in the kitchen? How can we make it feel homogeneous? If we are going to go with a pop of color somewhere, how can it relate back to, the navy kitchen cabinet? Something like that. Rather than thinking of one bathroom or one tile at a time, I try and create vignettes. And whenever you're feeling lost, go to the tile store and ask for advice. Even when I'm working on renovations with my clients, I don't pretend to be the expert in all types of tile. So we get the idea. We go online and search for inspiration pictures that really encapsulate the vision that we're going for. Then we show up and we speak with one of the experts who works at that particular store. I make an appointment ahead of time so that way I do get dedicated time with that salesperson or advisor, and we go through options together. And I'm always thinking about, okay, if I have large format tile on the wall, then I'll do a medium format tile on the floor. I'll do a small tile on the shower floor. You don't want to think in terms of all large format, all medium floor format. You want to think about which tiles will kind of steal the show or which tiles could have personality and which might be more subdued but still need to play nicely together. So I wouldn't ever just consider the floor in a vacuum. I would consider it as I'm either looking at the selections that are already there that I have to work around or looking at all the opportunities I have to make new choices. I think you need to work with an advisor. I think you need to get a clear idea and have some inspiration photos as to what Victorian style means to you. Because I think it's great that you have that part of your two-word phrase, Victorian, but that can be translated, especially in these contemporary times, into lots of different looks. So even when my client tells me, Betsy, I'm beachy, or Betsy, I'm boho, I make sure to figure out what that word, what that style means to them. Because what beachy or boho means to them is very different sometimes than the actual definition, or could be different than what it means to me. These are all things to keep in mind as you're working on these renovation selections. But would you give a little more thought to maybe not doing vinyl? A big thank you to our amazing producer, Catherine Heller, to Aton and the MCR House Band, and to Affordable Interior Design, the sponsor of this podcast and the premier place to get an amazing look on a budget. Check out affordableinteriordesign.com. If you guys love the show, the very best way to support us is by spreading the word. Tell your friends or write us an awesome review on iTunes. So until next week, guys, thanks so much for joining us, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.